Do is I'm going to go ahead and drain my pre-wet Clever Dripper. So I've had that soaking in hot water for about 2 minutes, and now I'm going to go ahead and drain that out. So basically what I've done here is I have preheated the Clever Dripper shell itself while rinsing the paper filter out at the same time. So now the Clever Dripper itself is pretty warm, so it will retain heat pretty well. I pulled the stopper down to make sure the stopper was done. I've emptied that out. Now I'm ready to go. Now I just ground 24 grams of coffee. In this particular case, it's a Papua New Guinea Baroita from Batdorf & Bronson. I'm going to go ahead and pull my water off the hot water tower. The water that's coming out of here is right around 201 to 202 degrees. And it's pretty consistent. One thing that I can do to help with that is to pour the water really close to the kettle at the top so it doesn't lose a lot of heat. So I've drawn my water and now I'm ready to start. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and dump my coffee in. I'm going to tear out my scale and immediately start my timer. So as you can see, I'm pouring really gently. I'm going to pour up to 100 grams. And at 100 grams, I'm going to stop and gently push the grounds into the middle, just like you see here, making sure that all those grounds are fully saturated. It's sort of a pre-bloom. Now I'm going to take the hot water by pouring gently, covering as many of the grounds as possible, up to 340 grams. So once this gets to 340 grams, which I went over just a hair, I'm going to go ahead and give this a gentle stir, and I'm just stirring at the top to push those grounds into the middle itself. Now a lot of people ask why do I stir and why stirring is important, and the reason why stirring is important is because the weight of the water tends to push the grounds against the side of the paper, and what happens is the grounds that are half touching paper, half touching water aren't fully extracting because they don't have enough surface area to water, whereas by pulling it in the middle as much as possible, I'm creating a better extraction. So by stirring, I'm pulling those grounds back into the middle, which allows for them to gain a better extraction. I do use a coarser grind, so it is closer to a French press grind, and I do make sure that the grind is consistent every time. So the recipe that I'm using is 24 grams to 340 grams of water. My water is around 200 degrees, generally 200 degrees, and the total brew time is 4 minutes. That's 1.5 minutes of drip time. That's the drop through the paper filter, and 2.5 minutes of the steep time, which is the initial segment that we're in now. So we've got about 30 seconds, so I'm going to make sure that my server is emptied of water, which it is. I'm going to go ahead and set it and prep it. And I'm going to put my stir spatula in my right hand, leaving my left hand open. In just a second, I'm going to go ahead and set the Clever on top of the server where it'll start the drawdown process. So 4, 3, 2, 1. Now this, I stir near the top to the middle for about 10 seconds with the same amount of force. So that's precisely 10 seconds. Now I'll make sure that the Clever is level on top of the server. That's really important because I want to make sure that the Clever itself has a nice even drawdown. And if you look at the grounds around the filter, you'll see a lack of grounds hugging the sides. That's because, again, by stirring, I've reintroduced all those grounds back into the body of the brew, so it brews the whole way through, all the way down. In brewing, you tend to get two different brew cycles based on the coffee to water ratio, and by pulling it all together, you get a more even segment. So as you can see, we're at 1 minute, and I still have a little bit of coffee in there, but as you can see, it's a pretty even drawdown all the way through the grinds. So I'm at 1 minute and 9. I'm at 1 minute and 15 seconds, and it looks like it's about done. Actually, it's done right now, which is in 1 minute and 20 seconds. So I'm looking for a total brew time of 1 minute and 30 seconds. So I'll go ahead and pull this over here. And before I serve, I want to make sure that I give it a good stir to make sure that I reintroduce all those levels together. And then after that, it's ready to drink. Delicious, clever brewed coffee. Thanks for watching.
And my yellow stage light smile distracted.